August 2023 will be written down as a life-changing event in Air India's history when the airline unveiled its new brand identity, embracing new colors and a modern design in its new logo as well as aircraft livery.
Our aim and job is to make this airline a truly world-class and iconic airline that every Indian will be proud of.
And CEO Campbell Wilson, along with his team, is doing what is needed to achieve that goal and bring the airline back to its past glory. Starting with a $400 million refurbishment of wide-body fleet and a huge 470 aircraft order, which the airline announced in June this year.
So far, so good. Clearly, we've got a long way to go. We're 18 year or so into a 5-year journey, but it's a good start.
Air India returned to its original founders, the Tata Group, in January of 2022. 20 months since then, Air India has a combined domestic market share of 26%, which is second after Indigo, that holds a giant share of 64%. Campbell Wilson says travellers will soon get to see the progress that the airline has made in the last 12 months. Hello and welcome to the CNBC-TV18 special. I'm Shereen Bhan. We're here at the new Air India headquarters in Gurgaon, and joining me now to talk about the flight path for the airline going forward is the CEO Campbell Wilson. Campbell, always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us, and it's great to have you back on the program. It's almost a year since we last spoke.
Yes, well, welcome. It's great to be back, and welcome to our new head office.
And plenty has happened since we last spoke. So yes. I want to get an update from you, or perhaps a report card, since you are marking the first anniversary of your transformation plan, Bihan. How would you rate yourself on the work that's been done?
Well, I don't think it's up to me to rate myself, but I think the team has done a good job. As you know, this is a 5-year transformation plan. The first 6 months we really spent focusing on trying to address many of the accumulated issues of the past, and I think we made good progress in that. Now we're right in the midst of deploying the systems and getting the people and the talent and the capabilities that are necessary really to support what will be quite dramatic growth arising from the 470 aircraft that we committed to earlier in the year. So I think so far so good. Clearly we've got a long way to go. We're 18 year or so into a 5-year journey, but it's a good start.
It's a good start. You had said that the first 6 months were the taxi phase. You're now in the takeoff phase. Have you taken off, and how long before you hit cruising altitude?
Well, takeoff requires a takeoff roll. We're halfway through that 12-month phase, so I'd say we're still on the runway, but we're getting close to, in our parlance, V1.
Okay, so how much closer to V1 are you today?
I think we're getting there. I think many of the systems that we've been working on are now coming to be deployed, whether it's on the commercial side, revenue management, distribution, website, back office IT in the commercial sphere. On the people side, new rostering systems, new fatigue management systems, new human resource systems. On the administrative side, financial and other systems. On engineering. So the IT landscape is nearly in a state from which we can build. From a human resource perspective, we've completed the VRS phase. We've ingested a lot of new people into the business with new skills, new thinking, external perspective. And what I'm really heartened by is that there is now a clearer understanding in the organization of what good looks like. And not just an understanding of what good looks like, it's what can we now start thinking about to take us beyond just becoming a pair of others. So systems, people, clearly the aircraft order was a big deal. Renegotiating a lot of contracts for spares and other things have been keeping us very busy. Consolidating a lot of the offices from around the country into this new campus, starting the merger of the low-cost airline, going through the regulatory process to now commence the amalgamation with Vistara. There's been a lot that's happened, but so much of it is still foundation building in support of the future growth.
There is a lot on your plate and there's a lot to unpack. So let's address each of these issues one by one. Let's start by talking about fleet. And you talked about that massive order of the 470 aircraft. Are you on track now as far as the first deliveries are concerned? More importantly, in terms of the leases that you had inked in about 30 plus aircraft, 11 were supposed to come in 2023. I think you've got, 5 or 6 that have already been onboarded. What's the outlook on that front? And when do you start to get the new deliveries coming in?
So six new wide bodies are in the fleet already, servicing Delhi to London, San Francisco to Bangalore, Mumbai to New York, and so that's provided an uplift to the product. We have 5 more 777s coming in over the next 5 months. They will allow us to increase frequency on those routes so that we have a more consistently good product. We're in the process right now of taking legal delivery of the first A350s, 6 of which we should receive by March or April next year. Next week we should take legal ownership of our first 737s, and there's a team in Seattle as we speak taking delivery. So it's all happening quite fast. You know, bear in mind it was only January that we signed the orders for the new aircraft, and it's already at the point that we're now starting to take legal ownership. Leased aircraft, we have 25 A320s coming in over the next few months. So, as I say, we're just at that point now where the work that's been put in place over the last 12 months is going to start bearing fruit, and people are going to see the manifestation of that when they travel.
You've just given us an indication of what we should expect in terms of the new additions to fleet, but are there concerns now on the supply side of things, especially because both manufacturers are facing supply challenges, particularly Boeing? How concerned are you about what that could mean and imply for your own operations?
Well, it's part and parcel of our industry, whether it is seat manufacturers, airframers, engine manufacturers. It just seems to be everyone takes their turn as who's going to cause us the problem next. There is a little bit of impact to delivery on some of these things, whether it be seats, whether it be airframes. It's not huge at this point in time, but these are just punches that we have to roll with in this industry.
With the addition that you are expecting, and you just gave us a ballpark of what could be on the cards over the next 6 to 8 months, what can we expect in terms of capacity addition and capacity utilization?
Well, capacity addition, if you take 12 months ago to now, we're 26% higher in terms of capacity. 5 new international destinations, a number of new domestic routes. And we should be increasing by more than that in the next 12 months. So when you consider this, this is compounding capacity, it's a very, very steep acceleration. In addition to the ingestion of aircraft, obviously we expand the network, expand the reach, expand the connectivity, expand the frequency. So I think people are going to see not just a continuation of the progress that we've made in the last 12 months, they'll see an acceleration. Now, clearly there's a lot more we need to do. I just want to be very clear that we don't consider ourselves anywhere close to the finished product yet, but there is progress happening.
Okay, speaking of progress, and let's address the other part that you talked about, and that is people. Given the fact that you are adding capacity at this point in time, what does that mean in terms of headcount addition? I believe you're hiring between 500 to 600 cabin crew on a monthly basis. You're training about 50 pilots a month as well. And this is now a problem for the industry as well, especially on the pilot side. How are you coping with that?
Well, I think, look, we carry the name Air India. We carry the history that brings. We've made this 470 aircraft order. We're putting together an airline that we hope carries the hopes and aspirations of India, the new Air India, to some of the most exciting destinations in the world. We're going to be offering one of the fastest paths in the industry, the global industry, from induction to command, from narrow body to wide body. If you're an aviation professional, where else would you want to work? And so we're very fortunate that we do have a lot of people wanting to work for Air India. In the past 6 months or so that our team have been working on recruiting pilots, we've recruited more than 650. And so we're a little bit blessed. That's not to say it is easy, which is why we're spending more than $200 million on our new training academy, which we're doing in conjunction with a couple of joint venture partners, to produce the talent that we will need for our future growth and also for India's future aviation ecosystem.
Where are you on the refurbishment plan at this point in time?
So we are refurbishing all of the wide-body aircraft, completely new seats, completely new in-flight entertainment, new galleys, new kitchens, new lavatories. It will be essentially a completely new interior of the aircraft. The $400 million largely goes for seats and for in-flight entertainment, although there's some physical work that needs to be done in the hangar. The money has been committed, but it's being progressively spent as the various seats and in-flight entertainment systems are constructed. When you're fitting out more than 40 aircraft, there's a lot of seats and a lot of in-flight entertainment systems that need to be manufactured. That is going on as we speak. It's why the process takes time, but hopefully July, August of next year, we'll see the first aircraft go into their hangar, take a few weeks, and then there'll be a brand new Air India fleet taken to the skies.
So next year is when you start to see the new refurbished aircraft come on stream?
Correct.
Okay, when we last met, and you'd set a target of December for all in-flight entertainment, sort of units in business class being fully functional. Have you been able to get to that? And when do you deal with the economy? Because if I take a look at social media, there's a lot of hate that you get on account of that.
Yes, and we are acutely aware of it. So we're about 99.5% reliability of the in-flight entertainment systems in business class across the wide-body aircraft now. It's as good as we can possibly make it. Now, that's not to say that there's not work to do, because the in-flight entertainment itself, the system dates from around the time as the first iPhone, which is why we're stripping this all out and starting again next year. But at least in terms of functionality, the business class ones are effectively all working. Economy class, we're about 85%. The equipment is obsolete. They don't make spares. We're trying to procure spares off the secondary market. As we start the retrofit process, the spillover of that is that we end up with a ship set of spares that we take off the first aircraft that are being retrofitted. And so by the middle of next year, we should be able to get 100% across the aircraft that are yet to be refitted until such time that they themselves are refitted.
Okay, so that's one of the challenges that you're going to have to deal with, one of the many. Let's address the other challenge, and that is the integration, the merger, bringing Air India Express under one roof and Air India and Vistara under one. What's the progress on Air India Express? Because I would imagine that's the easier one to do, and perhaps you'll be able to get to that by this year?
So that's been progressing
End of this
well.
year, I mean.
It's been progressing well. It's relatively easier because one was entirely international and one was almost entirely domestic. And so bringing them together is very clearly complementary. So all of the reservation systems and back office, as well as customer-facing systems, have been integrated. The teams have been integrated. They now operate under a single management team. They're in the process of finalising their new branding, which you should be seeing in the coming few weeks. And so essentially they're now starting to operate as a single unit, even if they have two regulated airlines. They're going through the NCLT process now. They had their first hearing this morning. And so as we move into 2024, we should be able to complete this process and henceforth operate as a single airline under a single brand.
That is as far as the low-cost carrier is concerned, which will be housed under Air India Express as the brand. What's been the big learning, the big takeaway from this experience? Because as you said, this is the easier of the two mergers to do, while you are in the process of doing the Air India Vistara merger, and of course the regulatory approvals and so on and so forth will follow suit and hopefully will get done as well. But what's been the big lesson from this integration that you've sort of been able to take forward?
I think there's not really any surprises. It's just a very complex, multi-phased, multi-line process. Whether it's customer, system, people, regulatory, fleet, contractual, just everything has to be worked through methodically and in the right sequence. It just takes time and effort and people and focus and coordination. It's going to be more complex when it comes to Vistara. So with Vistara, we received the Competition Commission clearance in India. We have some clearances still to receive from competition authorities in other parts of the world. There is the NCLT process there that I think we're about at the point of doing our second hearing. It will take time. And then, of course, then there's the regulatory, the airline regulatory side of things that we need to harmonise. With respect to the two brands, we've said that we think Vistara is a great airline. It's obviously beloved by customers as well. It will continue to operate as Vistara, continue to operate in the way it operates until such time that we feel we've brought Air India up to the level that might allow us to consider a consolidation. But there's no timeline to that. There's certainly no rush to do it. We want to learn what we can from each other and ultimately make the future Air India be better than the sum of the parts.
So just on that, because you said that there is no timeline on possible brand consolidation, would you even consider just leaving Vistara as is? Because as you pointed out, it does have brand resonance with customers. Would that be a possibility, or do you think eventually at some point in time you would like to bring Vistara under Air India as well?
I think our working assumption is that eventually the Air India name, once we make Air India product and reputation and service level and fleet, once we bring that up to standard, we think that Air India has 91 years of history. It is known around the world. It represents the nation in some respects. So we think that certainly internationally, Air India is the right brand name. Vistara is a relatively young airline. It's been predominantly a domestic or regional operator, albeit now with some long-haul services. And so we think the value really internationally is in the Air India name. Domestically, there's a case to discuss, debate, and that's why we're not putting any firm dates or any timelines to this.
So you may want to consider keeping Vistara just for the domestic market and Air India the international operation?
I think let's not get ahead of ourselves. I think let's let time run its course. But part of the new branding that we rolled out with Air India was with a view of how do we again represent the history of not just Air India, but of the other component airlines within the group. And that's why there's quite a strong hint of aubergine and the traditional patterns in the new Air India brand, which is not coincidentally what you can see on Vistara.
Speaking of the new branding that you launched recently for Air India, it has evoked mixed response and mixed reaction. What do you make of the commentary that's come into you, and how do you respond to some of that? And more importantly, when you talk about how Air India is going to be the carrier of the aspirations of a new India, at a practical level, at the level of the airline, at the level of customer experience and customer engagement, what is it going to mean?
Well, going back to the brand, look, I think anything that is subjective is going to draw opinion and comment, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, in some respects, I feel like the captain of the Indian cricket team, that there's 1.3 billion opinions on what we do, just as there is on what he does. We've had a lot of really positive feedback from people. When people see it in context, in particular, of livery, website, boarding pass, menu card, in-flight entertainment screen, baggage tags, people can see the resonance, they can see the history, and I think, like anything, as familiarity grows, people then acceptance and understanding and ultimately love. So, we're happy with the launch. We're happy with the feedback we've received, and hopefully people support the new Air India brand just as much as they support the new Air India.
We're going to take a quick break here and return with the conversation that we're having with the CEO of Air India on the airline's flight path.